Welcome to WNY Athletics High School Football Weekly. I'm Frank Wolf, joined by Francis Boeck, and Heidi Gunther is producing our show tonight. Well, we're here. We are
playoffs.
Yeah, playoff bound. Rivalry week is behind us. Kenmore West got over Kenmore East.
I was, you know what? I should have known better, because with that game specifically, you have to throw the records out the windows. But I thought East was going to do it this year.
And I did too, buddy. I was pulling for you for 30 seconds.
For 30 seconds.
But anyways, playoffs are about to begin. But you can't even start talking about the playoffs. We have to start this show by talking about what happened Saturday night in Athol Springs. St. Francis and Canisius, probably what was labeled the game of the year, started off that way. Certainly started off that way. Canisius hung in there with one of the best teams in Western New York, a team that really wasn't ranked high in anyone's rankings because of the schedule they play. Out of town so much, 0-3, 0-4. How can you rank a team that hasn't won a game?
That's only what you said. I was perfectly fine putting them at number 2.
We know that, but it's just not a good look when you have a team 0-whatever ranked against teams that are 4-0, 5-0, things of that nature. It's tough to do that. But anyway,
maybe for you, I don't have that issue, but whatever.
St. Francis, where are they ranked in WNY Athletics this week?
I believe they're at 3 or 4. Last I checked. We'll see at the end. Yeah.
3 or 4. So that means Lancaster they have ahead? They can't have Canisius ahead.
They might be 3. I think they're 3.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Terrence Pendergrass, who we talked last year as a possible top player in Western New York, didn't get the Connolly Cup invite last year. After this game Saturday, he is either at the head table or riding shotgun, because a 5-touchdown performance against that Canisius defense, 257 yards, a forced fumble and interception. Pendergrass had the game of his life at the perfect time for him, because everyone that votes on the Connolly Cup Player of the Year from around Western New York was pretty much at this game.
Yeah, that was the only game in town. Literally, everything, all the regular season had been wrapped up for Section 6. That was the only game in town, and he got a big stage and he performed on it.
And I'll tell you what, this kid he left the game at one point, thriving in pain on the sideline. Thriving in pain. Only to come back and pretty much have the quarter or the half of his life. That young man is one tough kid. From all counts, from people that were there that told me, because I couldn't be there. I did watch the game, but couldn't be there. Everyone that was there that saw what this kid was going through, Canisius was all over him early. But Pendergrass found that extra level to go to and carried the Red Raiders on his back. And I'm not 100% sure on the stat, but something tells me they kept Canisius to under 100 yards. I got to double check that stat, but if that's true, that's pretty impressive, because Canisius boasts a couple of really good weapons offensively. I will tell you, I saw Canisius up close and personal as you did at Lancaster. As good and as big as they are, and as athletic as they are, and as skilled as they are, that team took too many penalties and was just too undisciplined, in my mind, to beat Lancaster that day, and it showed on the field because they were very undisciplined during that game. But I hear that kind of might have what did them in here as well. The penalties, just too many.
Yeah, I'm on max props. Well, they were fairly close. They took 6 penalties for 77 yards.
Okay.
St. Franny's took 7 penalties for 40 yards. So
it was the Lancaster game where the undiscipline really kicked in. I wonder, and again, we know this is the championship game for Monsignor Martin in a couple of weeks. We know these two teams will play again. Joe's isn't beating one of these two teams.
No.
They can't move the ball in these defenses. This is the championship game. How much did Canisius really put into this one? I mean, we know they prepared. They over-prepared like anyone else. But did they hold back on certain plays? Maybe didn't want to show everything. I don't know.
I mean, they were up. I mean, it could have been just they were up. And, maybe they got themselves, a little bit of a false sense of security. They gave 21 points in the fourth quarter. Remember, this is St. Francis team going back to last year that were up like couple scores in the state Catholic championship game, and then gave up a bunch in the second half to lose that one tight. So maybe this is a case of Canisius going into the fourth thinking they have things in hand, and St. Francis decides to flip the script and knowing that they're capable of scoring late and doing well, picking things up on their end. Yeah. That might be the case, but
even with that win, Francis, I'm inside. I'm looking at the state rankings, which I know I play a little bit of a role in. They're still listed as an honorable mention. And I'm okay if you don't want to put them ahead of Bennett, but to me, I think they're equal or better than Lancaster, and Lancaster's ranked 19th. And then if you look at the Catholic schools across the state, St. Anthony's, who the team you referred to earlier, and then Cardinal Hayes, and then Archbishop Stepniak, 3 stalwarts in the Catholic High School Football Association from across the state. Those 3 teams, that's who they're going to face, Canisius or Franny's. I think Canisius will rebound and put a better effort next time these two teams play, which I believe is on the 11th, which will be at Athol Springs again.
Yeah, I don't know if that's been confirmed yet. We'll have to double check. That may still be worked out.
It's on that Saturday.
Okay, they did put it officially in that Saturday because I think last year it was on a Friday.
They did, but as of right now, the memo we got puts them on Saturday the 11th.
Which they would be the only game in town once again.
Which is what you want. You want all eyes on those, on the premier private schools in Western Europe, because private schools, taken seriously around here. Down in Texas, they're not.
Yeah, it's pretty much flipped in Texas.
Yeah, public schools is where it's at in Texas, but here up in Western New York, it's the private schools. Not to say these public schools can't play with them, because we just saw Canisius ball to Lancaster 2 weeks ago. But anyways, Monsignor Martin, St. Francis, congratulations on another division championship. You will then get the bye week. Canisius will play Joe's again.
Well, no, wait a minute. Hold on. We got a game this week that we got to talk about.
I know. We're going to get there. But we're talking about the playoffs. Canisius will play Joe's.
Mm-hmm.
Franny's will get the bye. Timon will get a bye. O'Hara and St. Mary's will play.
Yep.
And that's how the Monsignor Martin playoffs will go. Prior to that, though, we have a special game on Saturday. The Bishop Timon Tigers coming to Kenmore to take on the St. Joe's Marauders. We're not doing this game, are we? No, we're not. We couldn't.
Couldn't get a crew out there.
Well,
we wanted to.
We do want to, but we just don't have enough people to go around. You want to get involved on the technical side of things? WNY Athletics is hiring. Give us a shout. We use some producers, guys behind the scenes that know how to work the laptop, that kind of thing. Technical electricians, if you will.
Electricians.
Whatever. You want a job? We're hiring production assistants. We got enough.
Anyways, big game in Kenmore. Let's talk about the guys in the field.
Don't have Chick-fil-A at their.
You mean unlike the half the other schools that do?
St. Joe's is behind the times.
I'm not getting into that right now.
They might not make it into the Skyline report for the concession stand.
No, I guess
we left out.
I guess not. All right, we got to get to this game. Joe's Timon, and we've been kind of alluding to it, I think, all year on this show, and it's an opportunity for this Bishop Timon team to make a statement about where their program is, what state they're in, and how they compare it to the rest of Monsignor Martin.
Well, we know they're in New York State.
Thank you.
We're going to 10 o'clock tonight. Just kidding.
He was like, oh, we'll only take an hour. It's already 10 minutes in. Anyways, so yeah, this opportunity for Timon to really make a statement about where they are as a program compared to the rest of the Monsignor Martin. And I guess the question is, and I think you would not be crazy to pick Timon in this game, but my question is, let's say they don't win it, how close does Timon need to keep it in your eyes for you to say that Timon has arrived and they do belong in this division? I know you might say they already have, but now we're actually seeing them against each other on the field. We can really make this determination.
Well, I know Timon needs the game more than Joe's.
You can make it.
Timon needs the game more than Joe's. They're the ones that are down in the B division.
Well, you can make the argument if Joe's doesn't win this, doesn't look great on them.
Good for Joe's, not at all. But Timon's the one that has to get back in that top division again if you're going to play for a state championship. So, it's a bigger game for Timon. Where are they as a program, as an institution? This will help them attract more players, more athletes to their school. You know, if they want to be, they're there on the basketballs. They compete.
They won it. Yeah.
That's not a question. The football team, the baseball team, hockey team, they've been in trouble in recent years. For as long as we've been doing this.
Hockey's a little bit of a different animal, though, but that's a whole other story.
Different show. But anyways, it's a bigger game for Timon, in my eyes, because I think that they have to win this game to show the guys that call the shots that we belong and we should be fighting for a state championship. They go out and beat St. Joe's on Saturday, they can have that conversation with a straight face. They get murdered by Joe's.
Well, okay, so what's the in-between there? What's the in-between that maybe...
Timon has to win the game outright.
They have to win the game.
They have to win this game outright.
So if it's a one-score game...
Joe's favor?
Yeah.
No, they have to win this game.
Okay. That's my question.
That's my honest answer. They have to win the game. If I'm on that committee, and I'm not, because I don't want your hate mail, but if I'm on that committee and they come to me and say, Frank, we're thinking about bringing Timon up into play. They beat Joe's, you're crazy not to put them up there. You lose to Joe's, then you have to listen to all arguments. Well, they may not have the players next year. They've got 13 seniors that are going to graduate. We don't know what their numbers are going to look like next year. Well, that's what you got to look at. The numbers next year.
Well, I think they're even stronger. They're actually stronger underneath because they
are.
Because they had their first JV game this year and for the first time in a while.
Yeah. So Matt Wise is doing a phenomenal job.
So, but a one-score loss doesn't do it for you.
Not for me.
No. I think a one-score
though. But I've been saying this, that program deserves to be up in A. But I don't make the decision. You know, I have no skin in the game whatsoever.
No, I get that.
I think they deserve to be up there, but I'm not there. But I can tell you, those executives that make the decisions, they have to beat St. Joe's. Otherwise, the other questions open up. How many seniors are graduating? What are their numbers looking like next year? You know, and again, you know what it's like in some of these private schools. Once football season ends, some of these kids stop coming to school. It's a fact. Some kids stop coming, and they flunk out, or they're shown the door. How many kids from Francis are playing in public schools right now? How many kids from Canisius are playing in public schools? Because once the season ended, they stopped coming to school.
You're not wrong.
And it's not a shot at anybody. It's just that's a fact. Too many good players dominated St. Francis, only to not be welcomed back the following fall. And that's not on Franny's. It's on the individual. You're either a private school or you're not. But if you get into the school, do what you got to do to stay there. Because how many kids from St. Francis are playing in the collegiate level? Not just playing in the collegiate level, playing well at the collegiate level. I just read about Kamal Clark, Defensive Player of the Week at Central Connecticut.
And he was just here. Yeah, a couple of years removed.
So that's why they go to Canisius. That's why they go to Franny's. That's why they still go to Joe's. And if Timon can win and get back up on the same playing level, that's why they're going to go to Timon.
But you say, but they need to win.
They have to win this game.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to double.
Why don't we take a quick break?
Okay.
We're going to take a quick break, get our new sponsors in there, U.S. Army, baby, on with WNY Athletics now. If you're thinking about enrolling or enlisting, U.S. Army's the way to go. You're watching WNYA High School Football Weekly with Frank Wolf and Francis Boeck. We'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
What does it mean when people say America is a land of opportunity?
It means the power to discover,
To redefine yourself.
To improve yourself.
to challenge yourself.
To realize there's more in you
Than you ever knew.
that you could do.
It means giving people an open field to explore what they do best.
With the best tools,
The best training.
The best technology in the world.
We bring out the best in the people who serve.
So you can be all you can be.
Welcome back to WNYA High School Football Weekly. Frank Wolf, Francis Boeck with, I almost called you Dana, but she's not. It's Heidi Gunther, Dana's evil twin sister. Anyways, we're talking high school football. We just wrapped up rivalry week. We had a nice conversation about Monsignor Martin and what's happening there with their final week of play heading into the Monsignor Martin playoffs. We're going to get into Double A. Double A, Francis. You start us off. You got the playoff bracket. Can we put the playoff? Look at that. There's the playoff bracket. Of course, we got Bennett number 1 with the bye week. They will face the winner of Orchard Park and Frontier, which should be a pretty good game, Francis. They played earlier in the year. I believe it was a one-score game.
The 1-point game.
That didn't go overtime, did it? No.
It might have. It very well might have.
Okay. Either way, Frontier hung in there with the Quakers, so that's not a runaway win there for Orchard Park. The winner of that game, though, will face Bennett at, I would imagine, All High Stadium the following Friday night. On the other side of the bracket, you got Lancaster and Hutch Tech, Jamestown and Niagara Falls. All those teams have played before. Jamestown had their way with Niagara Falls. Lancaster had their way with Hutch Tech. If you ask anybody, I don't think they think it will be any different this time around. It'll be a rematch. It should be a rematch the following week in Lancaster between the Legends and the Red Raiders. So that looks like it. That's how it's going to shape up in Double A. Francis, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think that Orchard Park Frontier game is going to be good. You know, these teams have both really changed. They played very early in the season, this Orchard Park and Frontier squads. We'll see how they change. And I know Bennett told me that even though they took care of business against Orchard Park, they thought they were much better than that score indicated. I think it was like 40-0 or something. That was made perfectly known to me. I will say Jamestown has been running the ball pretty well even without Carson Bain. They gave Bennett some fits.
Almost by committee now.
And they beat Orchard Park by a couple scores there. So this Jamestown running game, obviously they still have to get through Niagara Falls, but I would not count them out against Lancaster. And keep in mind what happened in that Lancaster game. There was a very long lightning delay, and two very different teams came out of the locker room. So, and obviously you're going to Lancaster, so that's another notch for Lancaster. But maybe without that delay, now that Jamestown, remember they lost Bain early in that game, and they know how to run without Bain.
Changed the complexion of that game completely.
Yeah, I think it was almost mentally more than anything. So you wonder, this Jamestown team coming in with confidence, they're going to give the Legends a game. But I do see this ultimately ending up with Lancaster and Jamestown.
Now, moving on to the A's. Somewhere in here. There they are. Wait a second.
No, those are
highlights.
Those are the Double A highlights.
You got a bracket. We're looking for it. We'll find it. It's in there somewhere.
There we go.
Okay, so we're looking at the Class A bracket right there, and it's, I don't know if you would say it's wide open, especially after you saw the regular season standings, how close they were. Obviously, Clarence went 8-0, and they're deserving of that number 1 seed. Paul Bergio and company has those kids playing really well. The Red Devils, right?
Yeah, the Red Devils.
Devils. They're playing really well. The quarterback wide receiver combination is one of the best tandems in Western New York right now. Do you know who they are?
Patrick Wind is one, and I forget the other one. Do you know?
I don't. We should. We call ourselves a football show. Yes, I do. We had him in here. We just had him in here, He was here on Saturday.
We had Bryce Tubin in.
Isn't that the quarterback?
I thought you said 2 receivers.
No, the quarterback.
Oh, it's Bryce Tubin and Patrick Wind. Okay, I thought you made it sound like you said that leaded by 2 big receivers.
No, Bryce Tubin, who's a junior, 6'2", 210, junior, is having himself one heck of a season. And Patrick Wynn's a junior as well, so that's a whole nother year they're going to get to play together. So that's a pretty good balanced team in terms of seniors and juniors and things of that nature. They're well balanced there. Clarence is going to be good for a while. Who knows if they get bumped back up to AA next year? Who knows how these beds work? Because you got that AAA league coming in. So
I don't know if they're going to add that for football yet, because they've added for the other sports.
I think Buffalo. I think AAA was good for the 2024.
Okay,
Let's double check that. Anyways, Clarence and Will East will play Friday, and I think we have a crew there.
Yeah, we'll be there. That'll be one of our games on the NFHS network. You can watch that.
Sweet Home and West Seneca West play, and I think that's the marquee game in this particular bracket, Francis.
I don't know, because I was just looking it up. You see on the other side, you have Lockport Grand Island. They played this year.
That's a different bracket. It's
the same.
I'm saying it's the lower bracket because they get Sweet Home. Well, I'm referring to whoever Clarence has to play here.
Oh, okay.
I assume Clarence will beat Williamsville East, but you never know. That's why they play the games. Sweet Home West Seneca West. This is a toss-up for me. Sweet Home has been very good this year, much better than they were last year. They're playing as a team. They weren't playing as a team last year, and I don't know if they were playing as a team the year before. They had a lot of individuals, a lot of athletes, but they just couldn't put it together for 4 quarters, and they've done a complete 180. And I think you have to credit the coaching staff for that and the players themselves for understanding how good they were and to stop acting like you've won something when you haven't won anything. And that's how they were last year.
It's called growing up.
Yeah, they grew up, and my hat's off to Sweet Home for that. But they get a West Seneca West team that I think is going through some of the trials and tribulations that they went through last year. They had a couple players tossed from a game. Clarence was, outclassing them 100% in that game. And a couple players get tossed. They get blown out. They have another then they started winning again. They actually won that game where they didn't have the top 2 players on their team. Because they lost opening week at Brockport, right? That was their first loss.
Yeah.
To Christian Brothers, whoever they played, and then they lost to Clarence. Those are the only 2 losses. So they have won since that Clarence game. They haven't lost. West Seneca West is playing really good football, and that's one of the last teams I wanted to face if I was Sweet Home.
Well, they lost to Lockport in the middle of the stretch. I think. It was okay. Hold on. So they lost to Clarence. That was week 4. Then I think they had a couple players out because of that. Yeah. For the next game, they lost to Lockport. But they turned things around the following week.
I'm sorry, 5-3, West. You're right.
Yeah, the following week is then they took on a McKinley team, and I think Tom said they didn't let McKinley get a first down for the first 2.5 quarters.
Yeah, that was
and been kind of been taking care of business ever since.
McKinley hasn't been the same team, and they ended up missing the playoffs completely, which was a surprise to many. Star Point has been hanging in there all year, Francis. They get the number 2 overall seed at 5-3.
Well, the number 1 out of A2.
The number 2 in the bracket. Number 1 out of A2. Fine. Either way, they're the number 2 seed now at 5-3. They take on Williamsville North, who's a 4-4 team. They struggled out of the gate, got things going for themselves, and then they lost this last game, which was a play-in game for Lockport. Player go home. Lockport comes out and wins. They won late in the game. Congrats to the Lockport Lions. I know Tom Prince has been singing praises all year about this team, and we've been watching them from afar. They had one hell of a game.
They played the best game of anybody against Bennett.
We know that. Yeah, we've been talking about that, and Lockport. Our hats off to them. They're going to play Grand Island 2:00 at Lockport. That's another one of those Saturday games. All these other games will be played on Friday in Class A, but Lockport Grand Island is a 2:00 start up in Lockport if you want to check that one out.
And they played each other earlier this year. That was actually an 18-6 game. Of course, I lost it.
Was that a Grand Island win?
No, Lockport won.
Lockport won. Okay.
Lockport.
So Lockport has a chance again to get into the second round where they could play either Starpoint or Will North. But a couple of Niagara County teams still available in Class A and Starpoint and Lockport. How do you, Francis, would you say Clarence is the runaway favorite here, or would you say that Sweet Home and West Seneca West and even Lockport, now Starpoint, are a serious threat to Clarence, or would you say Clarence is the number one overall threat?
I think Clarence is the number one overall threat, mainly because we've had some cross-divisional games. Lockport's played Grand Island. Clarence is playing Grand Island. I believe West Seneca West had a cross-divisional game, and we've seen the A1s take care of business. Not blow out, but they've won by a couple scores over teams that we think are somewhat maybe like, I think Clarence beat Grand Island by about 2 or 3 scores, so 1-3, somewhat close but not really close. So I think from that standpoint, I don't know if A2 really has a team that is going to give Clarence a ton of trouble. I mean, obviously you have Sweet Home possibly in the second round that could give Clarence some trouble, but that first game they have against West Seneca West, that's you can argue that's a pick'em game between those two programs. So because of what we've seen in the regular season, I would say Clarence is the favorite. I don't think there's another team in A who is going to give Clarence, I don't want to say trouble's not the right word. They're going to give him a game, but he's really can be seen as a big threat to them.
Okay. Real quick, the Class A Chunk Funky Bowl brackets. Niagara Wheatfield will host North Tonawanda on Friday. The winner will then play the following week against Hamburg. So Hamburg gets a bye this week. If Niagara Wheatfield wins, they will host the Class A Chuck Funky Bowl championship on the 3rd at 7 o'clock p.m. The 3rd, I think that's a Friday, but I could be wrong. Check your own calendar at home, will you? Anyways, we're going to go right into Class B, Francis, where Lackawanna has the number 1 overall seed, and Maryvale comes in as the 2 seed in this bracket, as you'll see on your screen now. So Lackawanna is going to host South Park on Saturday. Pioneer, Friday night, will host Iroquois. That's at Pioneer, 7 p.m. Jack Cruiser, Pat Cawley on the call. Francis, you're going down there as well to produce. You've been to Pioneer before?
Yeah, I was just there back in the spring.
Okay, great place for a football game. And that should be one heck of a game. Now, we have learned that Iroquois is going to be without their top player in Trevor Berry.
Yeah, that is going to be a big loss. We've heard he was ineligible. Something happened. A couple incidents happened at the last game. We don't want to get into it, but he's been declared ineligible for this game. That's a major, major loss for the Chiefs. And I think you can argue Pioneer was already favored even with him playing, and that's only going to make things even tougher for the Chiefs.
Yeah, it's going to put a lot of pressure on the young quarterback Kleitz there for Iroquois. Now, Francis, Maryvale is going to welcome Alden. Maryvale at 8-0. In Class B, besides Lackawanna, Maryvale is probably the most balanced team, and they've shown that all year that they can get it done offensively and defensively. And then special teams is no joke either. So Maryvale, Friday night, they will host Alden. We know Alden is a threat, especially out of the backfield with Jaworzik as a running back. Obviously, they're going to have to do their best to keep Maryvale's offense off the field, but Maryvale's defense is swarming, and I have a feeling that Maryvale, if they can lock down Jaworzik, they have a real good chance of pulling that one off and moving on to the second round. Health Sciences and Depew, well, that's going to be on Saturday at John B. Wiley. That's in downtown Buffalo. 2 o'clock kickoff. Health Sciences and Depew. And Francis is writing some notes for me here. I'm passing notes between you and Heidi. Anyways, this Depew team, Francis, they've They made the playoffs, 6-2, great record. I don't know if they can hang in there with Health Sciences, especially 4 quarters.
And that speed of Health
That's
Sciences
a tough draw
is,
for them.
Yeah, Health Science just has so much speed and athleticism and a good line as well that I don't know.
They're not Lancaster, but they've got a running game. They've got a quarterback who could sling it. They're going to be on their heels. That's a tough draw.
They're kind of
He stepped out of bounds. They keep him in bounds to the
really
5.
Weak spots.
Definitely built like Bennett. It's gonna be
Over the middle, it's thrown and caught by Jameer Thomas. He makes 2 defenders miss. Thomas, see ya! Touchdown, Bennett Tigers.
likely Pioneer will go.
First down and 10 at the 31. Fakes the handoff to Gill. Again, it's Hartwig over the middle, putting on the Jets at the 5. He's in for the touchdown. Get on the door with a 4th and 3 at the goal.
Team for us is Maryvale at 10, Health Sciences 13, but 14 Pioneer, 15 Lackawanna. You go down a little bit further. Bishop Time is considered a Class B team in the rankings. Those aren't our rankings. Those are our power rankings. I'm talking state rankings now. That's fine. Bishop Timon is at 25, and there's some all honorable mentions there. Alden's getting an honorable mention. Depew is another one of those honorable mentions, as is Iroquois. And you can check that out. New York State Sports Writers Association. Even Lakeshore has an honorable mention. South Park, of course, is on there, an honorable mention, as is Will South. Will South, let's see about that Chuck Funky Bowl, because I would imagine they would have a Chuck Funky Bowl invitation. And they do. They will go to Springville Friday night. And actually, Lakeshore and Dunkirk, I think they're playing tonight. I know it says the 27th, but I'm almost positive. Today's Wednesday, right?
Yeah, today's Wednesday.
I'm almost positive Lakeshore and Dunkirk are playing right now at Lakeshore. So that's a little redemption opportunity for Dunkirk. They lost the first week of the season to Lakeshore.
Yeah, and Lakeshore is having their best season in years.
They're having a great season.
They came up very just short of making the playoffs.
So I saw the Dunkirk team practicing yesterday because I was out there for soccer. That's a hungry bunch. They're upset they're not going to the playoffs, and they were all focused in on this Chuck Funky Bowl opportunity here. So they take on Lakeshore. Springville gets Will South. There's a good chance that there could be a football game on the 3rd at Will South. If they could beat Springville, you could see Williamsville South playing for a Chuck Funky Bowl championship. And good luck to them if they are. You want to take another break?
Real quick, before we do, I do want to go back to the B bracket. I mean, think about the semifinals we could see. Lackawanna Pioneer.
Yeah.
And then Maryvale Health Sciences. Those are 2 fantastic, you can almost argue, pick'em games in those semifinals.
Yeah. Maryvale. Can you pull up their schedule from the regular season? I know that they had at least one bye week because I think it was Leuport that wouldn't play. Didn't have the players.
Burgard.
Well, Burgard, but I think Leuport too. I don't think Leuport played them.
Let's see. Burgard.
Go through the schedule.
No, they played Leuport.
They did.
Yeah, that was early in the season.
What was the score?
44-0.
Yee. Okay, go through that schedule for me for Maryvale.
44-20 Cleve Hill.
Okay, Cleve Hill had a losing record. Next team.
Lakeshore 61-30.
What were they, 5-3 overall, or something?
Lakeshore, they were the first team out of the B playoffs.
That's a winning record. Go ahead.
44-0 Leuport.
Okay.
48-8 Albion. 26-22 Iroquois.
Okay.
50-0 Dunkirk. The forfeit Burgard. 36-12 Cheektowaga.
2 wins over 500 or better teams.
Okay.
I got Maryvale, as good as they are, and it's not their fault. They don't make the schedule, but I don't like the fact that they haven't faced the kind of adversity that Health Sciences has faced.
But I think you're gonna make the exact same argument about Lackawanna.
Yes. I would like to go through that Lackawanna schedule next. While we got time here, can you go to Lackawanna? So, and I'm sorry, would they meet in? They wouldn't meet until the championship game if they get there.
Yeah, because they're 1-2.
Lackawanna will play Pioneer most likely, or Iroquois. Go through the Lackawanna record.
Lackawanna schedule. They beat Maritime Tapestry.
Okay. Losing record.
East Aurora Holland,
Losing record.
Tonawanda,
Losing record.
Springville, Depew.
Where's Springville?
Springville.
Springville and Depew had winning records.
Springville, yep. And then Akron, Olean, and Alden.
Alden had a good season.
Mm-hmm.
So basically 2, maybe 3 teams with winning records. Now,
Well, that's when you go back to that possible semifinal outlook. I think both of those teams, it looks like they'll have to go through a team from B1. So that'll be their first test.
Yes.
Or I hate to put first test because Maryville did play Iroquois, and that does count.
Yeah.
But those two teams, if they make it to the championship, they will have a big battle test in that semifinal.
What was the final score of that Maryville Iroquois game? Wasn't it just a 1-score game?
Yeah, 26-22.
And Barry was shooken up in that game.
Yes.
So Maryville, that would have been there some adversity there then.
Yeah, and I think
Absolutely.
talking to Tom, it was a very emotional game. There were a lot of big hits.
It was a Thursday night game.
No, it was a Friday night, but it was on our air.
It was a Friday night game?
Yeah. We had Tom there, we had Jake there.
Okay.
And that was actually the same night that Will South beat Health, which
Yes.
so I think overshadowed that Iroquois game a little bit.
Could have.
It's at some point, but yeah. But when you look at the bracket, you talk about Maryville Lackawanna having battle tested. If they move on, they will be battle tested next week.
I agree. Okay.
Should we now take a break?
Who's the kid from Lackawanna that's having a Connolly Cup type season? Clark?
I just got something in our chat. Will South did just beat Springville. That's one of the Chuck Funky Bowl games.
Oh, nice.
Thank you
Congratulations
to
to the
Jay
Billies.
Austin, 182 for that. So congrats to the Billies.
to the Billies. Anyone else yelling at us? He was not that he was yelling, but
No. Somebody said Lancaster beats Canisius 2 years in a row, but the private schools is where it's at. So it's kind of asking you, saying,
yeah.
which I mean, going not to go too far back down to that, I would say what Bennett's been doing and getting. They had Jameer Thomas. They've had.
You don't have to go to. No, who said that? Anyways, one of our.
No. He just said that we basically he was saying we need to pay more. No. He was saying if Lancaster is good enough to beat Canisius 2 years in a row, he says, but the private school's where it's at. Kind of sarcastically.
He's right. He's right. You don't have to go to a private school to get noticed.
And it's certainly changed, and I think in the past few years with Bennett and health sciences.
But you don't have to go. It doesn't matter what school you go to. In this day and age, with all the cameras rolling, with every stat available to everyone out there, and Len Jankowitz does a great job of communicating with all these college coaches. He's got his college, Western New York College or coaches associate, whatever they have, coming up sometime. I think the week after the stadium.
Yeah, it's early December.
You come, and now that's in person now.
Okay,
so
it's back to in person. Yeah,
yeah. It's at the Pepsi Club at the stadium. I'll try pulling it up during a break. But anyways, you're gonna be seen, and you don't have to go to a private school to be seen anymore. You could play at Springville and have a hell of a season and get noticed. Don't tell me that kid from Lackawanna, that freshman, that college coaches don't already know who this kid is. Clark?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They know exactly who he is. The Hill kid from Maryville is having a good season. They know who he is. The running back from Canisius already has Oregon talking to him. You don't have to go away. You don't. It doesn't matter the size of the school you play with. There's so many
or how
things,
expensive it is.
Yes, there's so many things outside of the high school season. These camps that you go to. That kid from Health Sciences that went to Pitt.
Copeland, right?
Copeland. He had offers before he even played a high school football game because he was going down and competing in these off-season invitationals. You know what I mean? These combines. You get your timing. You get your how high you can jump. All those little things. So they measure you, and you're measured against some of the top players from around the world. Those scores come in. And of course, it's going to get people's attention, and they're going to make offers if they think you have the potential 2 years from now, 5 years from now. People from Oregon are betting that the kid from Canisius is going to grow, get faster, and get stronger. Look what he's doing as a freshman. Can you imagine what this guy's going to look like in 4 years?
Yeah, that's going to be crazy.
So, so they're betting on him. So, good for them. Thank you to all you people listening and watching at home. If you got a question, throw it in there in the chat. We'll be happy to answer it. That's pretty much it for Class.
We'll try to answer it,
We'll try to answer. Class B, shout out, thank you to Farkas for watching tonight on YouTube, and Patrick. Hello, Patrick. Thank you for saying hello. Always good to see you guys. 8:40. Shouldn't you be in bed yet? Don't you have school in the morning? Anyways, I'll give you a pass. Have your dad write a note to your teacher that Frank from WNY Athletics said it's okay to stay up tonight past your bedtime to watch the show. WNYA High School Football Weekly. There is no other high school football show in New York that does this each and every week. So, Francis, thank you very much for helping me out with this, and Heidi, you too. Can't do it without, of course, you listeners. You got to have at least one person watching and listening to you. So thank you very much. Why don't we take a quick break before we come back to see? Why don't we do a quick commercial though, Heidi? Because people want to see more of us. That's what I'm told. That's what I'm told, anyways, by these comments. We really love your show. Don't take a long commercial. Come back right away. So we're going to do that. You're watching WNYA High School Football Weekly. It's Wednesday night here at WNY Athletics. We'll be back after word from our sponsors.
Western New York Immediate Care's new locations are now open. Whether you've suffered a minor injury or just aren't feeling well, Western New York Immediate Care provides safe, quick, high-quality care at an affordable cost. Our clinicians are trained to diagnose and treat non-life-threatening injuries and illnesses and are equipped with on-site x-ray and labs to help you feel better, faster. With 4 convenient locations open 7 days a week, Western New York Immediate Care is here to help when and where you need us. Visit us online to learn more.
Okay, we're back. WNYA High School Football Weekly. Thank you very much for watching and supporting the program and supporting what we do here at WNY Athletics. Let's see. The Lackawanna South Park game, Frank Payne is watching, one of the assistant coaches, legendary coach from Iroquois, who's got 2 daughters playing still soccer right now. She's fabulous.
Oh, yeah, we should mention to Frank, we
Is
are
that a 1
doing,
o'clock game?
yeah, 1 o'clock game, and we are doing it on the NFHS network.
Yeah, so that game will be available. And again, folks, just so you know, if you were reluctant to get an NFHS subscription before, do it right now. Do it right now. Because that will carry you, right? Like what's today, the 25th? It'll take you all the way to November 25th. Yeah, you may have to get 2 months worth to get all the games. But
you're gonna get all the Section 6 playoffs, and it's going to get you most of the state playoffs.
It'll get you through Highmark. It'll get you through the Far West Regionals, which will be held at Will South this year. And the week after that is the state semifinals to be held at Cicero North Syracuse. We're doing all these games. So we got word today from the NFHS Network that Spectrum is doing the games, but not everyone gets Spectrum TV. The NFHS Network has the live stream rights, and the games will be live streamed on the NFHS Network. So it'll be our voices for sure. I don't know if we're producing doing the camera.
Well, yeah, and
but you'll have Jack Cruiser, Tom Prince, Stu Boyer, PJ Cawley, Jake Byock, guys who really know Western New York, Ryan Gallo.
And it'll look like our graphics too.
Hopefully. So guys that know Western New York high school football will be on the broadcast. I don't know who Spectrum uses, but I can guarantee none of them have watched a single minute of high school football.
Or at least not as much as our guys.
Not as much as our guys. So our guys will have the backstories, we'll do the research, and we'll be ready to go at Highmark Stadium. I promise you that. But if you get that subscription now, $9 or $10 a month, whatever it is, it'll carry you through.
And you can get soccer and volleyball and field hockey.
And you might also be able to get some of those other schools from downstate who Western New York will be playing, hopefully eventually, like the CSPs or the Franklinville-Ellicottville. We have a feeling one of those teams will go all the way down to at least to Cicero North Syracuse, if not to the JMA Wireless Dome at Syracuse. High hopes for the Class Ds this year for sure. Will the Lackawanna South Park be a good game, Francis? Because talking to Tom Prince, who can't be with us today because he's dealing with family at a loss of his stepmom passed away out in Arizona. So Tom's out there saying, with his dad right now. But Tom had said to us that he thought if there was something Lackawanna needed to clean up, it was their pass, their defense and passing down situations.
I saw South Park on Friday, and they struggled with health sciences. And we know
That's
Willoughby
not a major blemish.
No, which isn't. And we know, and the other part of it is we know Willoughby was only about 275 yards short, and that health defense, I think, limited him to maybe 50 yards all game. Willoughby had trouble, finding his receivers open.
Yeah.
He had pressure in his face the whole game. So that could be something Lackawanna struggles with. But I think ultimately the line for Lackawanna, they're going to be able to figure out a way to, even if they're not necessarily as good in the secondaries health science, we know they're as good or probably better in the trenches. And I think they're going to give Noah some fits, right at the line.
Noah's going to deliver the ball. He could stay in the pocket with the best of them. There's a reason why he's one of the top quarterbacks in Western New York. Whether he's on the run or whether he's standing in the pocket, he just needs a little bit of time. But at the same time, his receivers have got to come down with the football. And that's going to be the difference in that game. Can they move the football against the Lackawanna defense?
And they can't take penalties.
And of course, that's another whole animal there is just the discipline. Staying on sides, knowing the snap count, things of that nature. Good luck to South Park. I'll tell you what. South Park's been in this position quite a bit. This isn't their first rodeo. I don't know if they're going to beat Lackawanna out, but they were an A team coming down. Lackawanna is a C team coming up. It's the right formula for South Park to show that, hey, we were section champions not too long ago. We were state champions not that long ago. You guys are just coming up to B. You just finally won a sectional championship. We still got a lot. There's a lot of fight left in these dogs.
And we talked about earlier with Lackawanna, they haven't really been battle tested that much.
This could be the perfect making for a South Park upset here. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's got the right
formula,
if you will. Again, South Park has been an A team. These are guys that have gone up against Jamestown and have won. These are guys that have gone into hostile territories and won. And late games in the season. I mean, they went into Grand Island not long ago and won when Grand Island was tough. So this isn't a bad, there's still a lot of pieces. They may not be on the field, but those coaches, some of the best coaches in Western New York are on that sideline. Like we mentioned, Frank Payne is over there. He knows a thing or two about the pigskin.
All right, let's move on to Class C.
Now you want to talk C?
Yeah, let's talk C.
Let's talk C. Class C, Medina 8-0, the number 1 overall seed. They're going to welcome Falconer, Cassadaga Valley, Maple Grove, which is a 500 team at 4-4. Southwestern, they're going to host Akron, a 6-2 record for the Trojans, welcoming the Tigers at 4-4. Salamanca, they got the number 2 overall seed, 6-2. Take on Cleve Hill 3-5 for the second time this season. And then Newfane at 6-2. Portville's coming up. Newfane has not looked good the last couple times out, Francis. They lost to Wilson. They lost to Medina. And now they've got this hard-hitting, unbelievable rushing attack in Portville. But Newfane's a very good passing team. So is Fredonia. And Fredonia is a lot bigger than Newfane. And they have a lot more weapons. And Portville dismantled the Hillbillies in Fredonia. This should not look like an upset. I think Portville's the favored team here. I'd like to get your thoughts on that.
I think for the second year in a row, and I don't want to disparage the teams in the North, but I think the South is a little bit stronger than the North. It was a lot of the same. I think last year was Fredonia, Salamanca, and Southwestern. This year, Fredonia didn't quite have the season, but you have Portville in the mix moving up. But yeah, I think those 3 South teams can give Newfane or anyone in the North some trouble.
Very well. Very well. So it looks like the Medina-Faulkner game could be a good game. I like the Sopak kid at Faulkner, the quarterback. It's Kurt Fisher. Eric Valley, though, has done a great job with this Medina team. Again, you and I hate to throw you under the bus, but we both wrote them off heading into the season.
Oh, we thought Newfane was gonna
We thought it was
jump them
Newfane's
this year.
Newfane's not quite there yet. Newfane's not there. Medina has that great rushing attack. Can they keep the Faulkner offense off the field? That could be the strategy and the recipe of success for Medina if they are to move on. Nobody would be surprised if they get by. I wouldn't be shocked if Kurt Fisher has some more magic up his sleeve. I know for a fact there are plays that Faulkner's been running all year in practice that no one's seen on film yet. Does that change things up? We'll have to wait and see.
I think you would. I think if you're Kurt Fisher, you got to run him this week.
You better. What are you waiting for?
Yeah, because
it's do or die now for Faulkner. They're coming in as the 8th seed. It's a 7 p.m. game on Medina. Faulkner travels well. They got Cassadaga Valley and Maple Grove. Bunch of small schools coming together to play in that Class C championship. We'll have to see how things go. Now, Southwestern, I don't think they're going to struggle too much with Akron. I know Akron's likes to throw the ball, but they're kind of young. They haven't been able to win any. I don't think they beat anybody with a 500 record or better.
Yeah, they struggled against teams outside their division, including Wilson, who's in Class D, and I think they had a couple other non-leaguers who they struggled with as well.
Southwestern, Jamison Walsh, in a natural position of running back, and then he's got 11 sacks on the year. Leads, I think, the state, or he's up there.
He reminds me a little bit from last year, Dorian Faison Jr. from Will East.
Okay.
There's a little bit of that, a little bit of him in there.
Yeah, he's all over the field. He's a difference maker, and I think he's going to be the difference in this game against Akron. I like Southwestern on Friday night. Salamanca should handle their business in Cleve Hill. Cleve Hill gets in because of the forfeits from Eden, North Carolina. So Cleve Hill gets in as the 7th seed, but I think the Warriors should be able to take care of business there, and then they'll meet either Newfane or Portville. I believe it'll be Portville, and then that's the rematch people are waiting for. Salamanca beat them a week before by a score, but I'll tell you, the Portville team, they are besides themselves. They had 3 offensive touchdowns taken away from them in that game, and they want Salamanca in the worst way. They want 4 more quarters with the Warriors, and Francis, it looks like they're going to get it. So you could see a Portville-Salamanca rematch on the 3rd, and that would be at Salamanca, and then Medina Southwestern will go at it in Medina on the 3rd as well before they get to Highmark Stadium. So we'll have to see how
But I do think Newfane Portville is probably the most competitive game on paper right now, looking at that. 2-3.
I think, for my money, Francis, I think the most competitive game, believe it or not, you may call me crazy, is that Medina-Faulkner game.
You're crazy.
No. I don't think Faulkner will make it that easy on Medina.
I'm not saying they'll make it super easy.
Too.
I'm looking at Newfane Portville, and I think that's going to be.
I just don't know if Newfane's. See, after watching Medina run all over them, how are they going to stop the Portville running game? They don't. It's not just they have one running back; they've got 2, and they're running. They're
But Portville has to come all the way up. That's a pretty long trip there. That's a 2.5, possibly 3-hour trip.
That's true.
Because that's not coming from because. They're coming much more farther. This isn't just like Jamestown area.
Portville has to put the Salamanca game behind them. They have to put that Salamanca game behind. It never happened. Just forget about the Salamanca game. Take care of business in Newfane. I think they will. I just think that their offensive line is a lot like Medina's. I don't think it's seasoned. Medina's line's been around for a while. You got some returning starters there. But Portville's got a great running game too, and I think that's the difference in the game and keeping the Newfane offense off the field, which is what they did with Fredonia. They kept the offense off the field. And when they hit, they hurt. That's a punishing defense for Portville. They knocked a number of players out of that Fredonia game. Big, bad dudes from Fredonia. They knocked them out of the game. So we'll have to see what happens. I know Jay Austin is looking for a Portville-Salamanca rematch as well. I agree with you, buddy. Frank Payne reminds us, last year the Sparks lost to Clarence in the opening round of the playoffs.
Yeah,
so
it happened, yeah.
Good luck to, like I said, that'll be a good game. And again, to your point, maybe the first real tough opponent that Lackawanna's faced. I always said, like, a couple years ago, Jamestown and South Park played down in Jamestown.
Was that the COVID year for the sectional title?
Yes. Now, Jamestown had been running through teams. But they didn't face anybody like South Park. And I wish I could remember the kids' names from South Park, but one of them was up for Connolly Cup, maybe two of them.
Was that the Clarence Thomas year?
Yes.
He was probably the tailback.
But I don't think he was even the there was another running back there.
Fluid
was there. Yeah, Fluid was there. That team, for the first time that season, really came in and started to lay the body on Jamestown. And it showed. The longer that game went on, the more they wore Jamestown down. And finally, they pulled away and they won it in overtime. And that was the first time Jamestown really faced a team that can hit. And I think that's what may help South Park on Saturday is they're going to hit. Can Lackawanna take the punishment? We keep going back to this Class B.
Yeah. We need to get down to Class D.
We got to get down. So that's Class C. Let's just do the Funky Bowls real fast. Class C Funky Bowls. Roy Hart Barker taking on Chautauqua Lake Westfield Brockton. That's at Roy Hart. That's actually happening tonight as we speak. It's probably over by now. If you get an update, let me know. Fredonia and Silver Creek Forestville. It's a rematch. I would imagine Fredonia should win that game. One of the Fredonia quarterbacks or backup quarterbacks is the coach's son from Silver Creek, Sean Helmer. His son is one of the quarterbacks of Fredonia. So it looks like it could be Roy Hart Barker facing Fredonia or Chautauqua Lake facing Fredonia in the Class C Chuck Funky Bowl Championship. Making our way down to Class D. A lot of buys in Class D that first week. The only game, I think, of the week is Randolph and Gowanda Pine Valley.
Yep.
So that's a rematch.
Last week from last week.
Yeah, Randolph won. Carter Capozzi. Nice young quarterback, hotshot quarterback.
You talked to him, yeah.
I like the kid. A lot of poise. He looks like Sidney Crosby from the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Wow.
Did you notice that?
No, I didn't see that.
You didn't see any Sidney Crosby in the kid?
I don't see Sidney Crosby in anyone that I like.
Oh, wow.
I can't forgive him from when he scored in the shootout of the Winter Classic in 2008. He's one of the athletes I can't stand.
Because he scored a goal?
Because he beat the Sabres in the Winter Classic. Wait, that was 20 years ago? No, that was not 20 years ago.
It was a long time ago.
Wow, you're making me feel old.
Well, you're getting up there in age. Anyways, go on to Pine Valley and Randolph and the Capozzi kid. If you take a picture of Capozzi and put it next to Sidney Crosby, they look identical. That's your homework. Somebody Google Carter Capozzi, a picture of him, and put it next to Sidney Crosby of the NHL.
That's a terrible thing to do.
Why?
To a kid. Because Sidney Crosby, never mind.
He's a multimillionaire, Stanley Cup champion.
He's a terrible
Hart
person.
Trophy winner. I'm just saying they look alike. Carter's a good dude. Anyways, the winner of the Randolph Gowanda Pine Valley game will go to Clymer. That will be where CSP will host their first playoff game. It's on the 4th. It's a 1:30. That's a Saturday game. Franklinville-Ellicottville will play Wilson. I believe that game will be at Franklinville. That field at Ellicottville should not be played on the rest of the year. So that game should be at Franklinville. They come in at 7-1, Francis. They had a phenomenal game with CSP. Back and forth. Franklinville had a lead in that game. CSP came alive at the end and pulled away, and they improved to 8-0. We talked a little bit about that game in our playoff preview show. But that could have gone anyway. I want to give a shout out to those teams too. Showed a lot of sportsmanship before, during, and after that game. Very proud of those two programs there, and we're looking forward to hopefully seeing them at CSP. But I don't want to count out Billy Atlas, one of our favorite coaches out there. But they've got 2 full weeks to get healthy again.
Both of those teams.
Both those teams, yeah.
Who do you think that's a bigger advantage for, Franklinville-Ellicottville or Wilson?
Well, Franklinville-Ellicottville. I mean, for us to go to Franklinville, it's about
No. I mean,
minutes.
for those teams.
Wilson, it's like an hour and 40 minutes.
No. I mean, in terms of they both get the bye, who do you think the bye helps more?
It probably helps Wilson a little bit better because they're already down to 17, 18 players. But I don't think they can beat Franklinville, Ellicottville, even with guys at full strength. I just think Franklinville, Ellicottville is that better of a team right now at this point in time. Next year, I don't know. Wilson's improved considerably at 6-2 this year. Only losses to Franklinville, Ellicottville, and CSP.
Well, I think they lost to
No, they beat.
They beat Newfane.
Yeah.
You're right.
Which again tells you that Portville should go in to Newfane and beat them.
Yeah.
They should.
Mm-hmm. That is a drive for them.
We're talking about high school kids. I don't think they got over that Medina game.
Maybe now they have.
They better have by now.
Yeah.
They better have by now because Portville is Medina.
Yeah.
Portville's Medina. So that's what you're about ready to face. That's it from AA all the way down to D. The brackets, there's no Chuck Funky Bowl for Class D.
Oh, it was Pharrell Fulgrim and Keith Jackson.
Fulgrim.
And Keith Jackson were the running backs in 2020.
Yes. I don't know where I don't know where those guys finished up, but yes. Pharrell Fulgrim, he was up for Connolly Cup. Keith Jackson was up for Connolly Cup. Jackson had the winning touchdown, I believe, in that Jamestown game.
Or did he have the winning 2-point conversion? Didn't it come down to a 2-point conversion?
Maybe they went for it because they can't kick. Maybe.
But it was like it was in the last.
That game was
minute.
closer because South Park couldn't kick. Jamestown could. That's why that game was so close. Jamestown.
Oh, he's back on this thing again.
South Park did a number on them. They just couldn't kick the ball. They couldn't kick extra points. They had to go for 2 every time. They couldn't punt.
Yeah, no, but I think it
terrible. Jamestown was getting great.
No, but I think it came down to the I think the the final play, which is a 2-point conversion.
Yeah. So either way, what about Connolly Cup? Do we want to? Why don't we? These are the Connolly Cup top performers from the previous week. Total disclaimer: WNY Athletics has nothing to do with the selection of the players. We just pass them along to you, and there they are, right in front of your face. You're reading them right now. Damari Baker Houston from North Tonawanda. Good to see another Lumberjack get on there after their rivalry win over Tonawanda. Chase Bonta, hell of a game against Orchard Park. Tyrone Clark, the man, the myth, the legend from Lackawanna, the freshman.
Didn't he have 308? I thought I read. I could be wrong. I thought he had 308 against Alton.
Jesus, he did have a hell of a game. Braden Gibbs, coach's son, gets on the list. Aiden Harrington. Harrigan, another North Tonawanda player got on too? Wow. Unbelievable. All right. Marion Holt, Kenmore West, Rob Kibler, Frontier, Jack Mahar, Terrence.
Finally, Jack Mahar gets on.
I can't read that last name there.
Bryce Private.
Oh, yes. Parker.
From CSP.
Yes, from CSP. Makes the list. Gavin Schwab, the quarterback from Pioneer, and Jameer Thomas. Hell of a player. One hell of a football player. Trey Thompson, Lockport, doing his thing. Get Lockport over Will North, gets on the list. Samarian Threet from Cardinal O'Hara, their big win last week. And then Braden Tryon from Maryvale. Those are your Connolly Cup Week 8 Players of the Week. And, of course, those guys are going to be getting down to their final 10. I was talking to one of the members a couple days ago. And he said they should be able to get down to their top 20. But he said trying to get down to the top 10 was going to be hell because there are so many guys that belong in the top 10, but there's only 10 seats.
And I think it's going to come down to which teams make it far in the playoffs. And especially you look at B, you can make a case for about 4 or 5 guys. You wonder it's going to be about who makes it to the stadium.
Yeah, I mean, I would tell you, you gotta. I mean, Pendergrass is going.
Jameer Thomas
is going. So the kid from Lackawanna should get an invite.
I think. Well,
what hurts him is competition they played. Be honest. He can't pick the competition, but he's a freshman rushing for 300 yards in a game. That's got to get your attention.
Well, I don't want to say this hurts him, but I think with B specifically, there's about 4 guys who you can make a case for. You know, you have Clark, you have Jabu, you consider Willoughby,
you gotta consider him.
You have Barry, who's from last year. You have Tryon from Maryvale.
Yeah.
Caesar from health.
Caesar's
got a lot
got
5
Caesar
kids.
should get in.
And I think it's going to come down to who makes the stadium.
Yeah. I mean, if Pioneer goes on a run, you could see Jabu getting in there.
Well, I guess here would be the question: who makes it there without making it? Who makes it to the final 10 without getting to the stadium?
Lackawanna gets knocked out this week. I think that kid still gets in.
Okay.
And again, I don't have a vote. No one listens to me. That's who I would think he did enough from a number standpoint. I think he did enough.
Because for me, and when I come up with my top 10 in my head, I don't have a vote either.
Is your kid from Lockport? Tubin?
I think Tubin's in there. I mean, when I do my list in my head, I give the first 7 or 8 spots to kids who make the stadium, and then if you're not making the stadium, you have to be really special.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're battling in Mike for 2 or 3 spots in that case. And I just, to me, I can't, again, I can't put 4 or 5 guys in from B. I can only put in maybe 2.
I think
3 if you're lucky.
And I did serve on the committee for a number of years, and the way I look at it, and we're all different. You know, we all have our own ideas and thoughts on how we pick players to go certain places. What I always look at is what kind of numbers did you have against teams that are 500 and better? If you're rushing for 3 and 4 touchdowns against teams that have losing records, you're doing what you should have done, right? If you're rushing for 200 and 300 yards against teams that are better than you in records,
or just as good,
or just as good, or a class up, that stands out. That's a feather in your cap. This Pendergrass, 5 touchdowns against Canisius.
That's what you're looking for.
That's a recipe for qualifying for the County Cup. The 2 top private programs going at it. You have 5 touchdowns. There's a chance they're etching your name on that trophy already. They're not, but you should at least start writing your profile for the program they put out.
Does it mean we have to? Aren't we in charge of that now?
We need to do that. We help out the County Cup. We write up the bios for the players that are selected. We don't know who they are, but
all right,
I would tell you, start writing Pendergrass's bio.
Well, let me write out a name.
Thomas as well.
Because he wasn't a guy, Pendergrass, I had on my radar for 10, because I had a few other guys. I had Kimball.
You didn't have Pendergrass on yours?
He was a little bit. I had 2 guys ahead of him. Here are my 2 guys.
Well, you had Pendergrass on your list.
My preseason, yeah.
Yes.
No, I guess here's what I was thinking. For Monsignor Martin, I was, I kind of had Kimball, which I think he's still fairly in the discussion.
Clark was in this discussion. Kimball was not in the discussion in the preseason. Heading into the season, you didn't have Kimball.
Clark.
Clark.
From Lackawanna?
Canisius. Well, who's a wide receiver from Canisius?
Oh, Jaden Clark. I thought I thought you were talking about the kid from Lackawanna.
No.
Okay.
No, we didn't
well,
Jaden, now let me ask you this. Jaden Clark. I didn't see the numbers from the Franny's game, so I don't know how him or Kimball did, but I know Kimball was nursing injuries throughout that game. He's showing his age. I mean, those teams are coming and they're hitting. And he's a young kid, and he's taking a beating. The Lancaster game and the St. Francis game, he's taking his licks, man. And I'm telling you, he's a warrior, but he's still a young kid. And you're putting 250 pounds of
it's a lot, yeah.
Coming on that, that's a lot.
Yeah,
ask of a kid.
Father Time does, have its like. All right, but the name I really want to throw out to you, Marcus Harrison. You can make an argument he's the best player in Western New York.
Performer?
Yeah, I believe he was nominated already.
Did they?
I'm 90% sure.
I don't think he was nominated as a top performer for County Cup. If you're not nominated between now and the stadium, you're not invited to the top.
We could go back, but I'm 90% sure because I get the list every week. So I'm pretty sure I saw him once.
That's a good one. I mean, the kid from Bennett last year.
Yeah, Perry didn't get the top 10, but you could have made a very strong argument that he deserved to be there.
He was nominated at some point in the season. I think he was playing injured for the last few weeks, and I think that's what cost him. I don't remember what the argument was to keep him out. I don't remember what it was. It's not important. But I want to go back real quick. The Clark versus Kimball argument real fast. Because I thought heading into the Lancaster game, Kimball had all the hype, but that's because people forgot about Clark. Clark had a great game against Lancaster. Had an interception, had a touchdown, real good locking down some of the receivers. I thought Clark had a great game. They didn't win, but I don't think Kimball had. Kimball had a nice touchdown run. He had a really good touchdown run against Lancaster, but wasn't on the field much in the second half. So who outdid who in that game? I'd have to say maybe Clark. I haven't seen the numbers for Franny's between the two. But I'll tell you, if there's only one kid from Canisius going to qualify, it comes down to that Franny's game and who stood out, if they get an invite at all.
You mean Canisius gets an invite? I think they deserve an invite.
One of those kids should get there, yeah.
Yeah.
But it might be Clark.
I honestly wouldn't mind that. I think you can make a case for both.
He was on the radar before Kimball was.
Do you think the case for Pendergrass is stronger than Harrison?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Because?
5 touchdowns, a fumble recovery, an interception.
That's one game.
He's been doing that all year.
He's been having a nice
Pendergrass
season.
has been doing that all year.
I don't know if he put up quite though. He's been putting up those numbers all year.
No, but he's again. I think we're speaking honestly. Harrison's a lineman.
Why not? So why can't he be in the top 10? Because maybe I don't know the definition.
He absolutely can. It's the top football player in Western New York. That's who the Conley Cup's supposed to be voting on. The top football player. How often does a lineman get mentioned ever with the top player in the NFL?
How often does Western New York have a lineman that's going to Georgia?
You got a guy going to Syracuse.
I'm saying he should have been there too.
Doesn't happen often, but I will ask you again. In the NFL, when you talk about the top player in the league, which lineman is mentioned? I can't name a one that's mentioned ahead of Patrick Mahomes or in the same breath as Travis Kelce or even Josh Allen.
Well, we're talking that's popularity versus most important.
So it's not going to be any different at the high school level. That's why they have the Trench Trophy. Let the Trench Trophy sort it out.
But what if the award's going to the top player? Linemen are just as same as
I don't
quarterbacks
disagree with you.
As players.
Again, human nature. If you're out there looking for the top players, even standing on the sideline, are you looking at the linemen? Are you looking in the trenches, or are you looking at the quarterback and the running back, the receivers, and
I'm not. Yeah, I mean, you're right on that end. But
okay.
If we're talking straight up football player,
if you're going to win the Conley Cup as a lineman, you better be dominating both sides of the ball for 4 quarters. And I'm not saying Perry didn't do that enough last year, because he did. And I can't tell you why he didn't get into the top 10. I can assume he didn't get in the top 10 because he looked like he was playing injured for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And there were times when...
Well, not in the state play. I think maybe the end of the regular season, but the state playoffs,
yes. But after the stadium, doesn't matter what you did in Syracuse. Doesn't matter what you did in Portland.
You're
it doesn't
right,
matter what you did the Far West Regionals. What you did at Highmark was it. They vote that night. Your top 10's voted.
I get that.
So it doesn't matter. So either way, it's a tough call. It's a tough call for Conley Cup for why a lineman doesn't get in. They're just not noticed. They don't.
I'm surprised no one in the chat is putting anything about this. This is the most interesting discussion of the night, and everybody's being awfully quiet.
If you're still watching and listening, and
you have 27 people watching.
Over 24 of you are. Who do you like for Conley Cup? Again, it's the top player in the league. I happen to think it's Pendergrass or Jameer Thomas. I think it's a 1 or 2 man race. If we're being honest, I think those 2 guys is where you're going to see a lot of the chatter.
Yeah, I think if you talk about a short list for not just making the 10, but winning it all, I think that's pretty close.
Disrespect anyone else out there.
But I still think you can make a case for Harrison. I think you're going to tell me the scouts at Georgia are wrong?
I'm not going to tell you that, no. It's a good discussion, and we should continue that. Why don't we go to Trench Trophy, and here are your Week 8 nominees. Jack Brown, East Aurora. Owen Chuddy, Franklinville, Ellicottville. Keegan Hardy from Salamanca. Gage Huey from Lancaster. Sawyer Kingsbury from Medina. Nathan McGlinny from Sweet Home. And Jameson Walsh from Southwestern. Jameson Walsh from, am I reading that right?
Yeah.
He gained Trench Trophy? This guy could have been running, he could be a Connolly Cup guy and now a Trench Trophy guy? That's insane. That's insane. Good job, Jameson Walsh. And how about Gage Huey? I went to high school with his dad, John. Congratulations, Gage Huey, on making that list. I saw him against Canisius. He had one heck of a game. But he gets it for his work against Depew last week. The Trench Trophy, do you know when that banquet is? November?
No, December 5th, it's the 4th? Tuesday after the state championships.
So the Connolly Cup is that Monday night?
Yeah. And I think the Trench is the next day. At least that's how it was last year. And if it's changed, maybe it's changed today. Maybe it's Tuesday to Wednesday.
Yeah, the Dick Gallagher annual football banquet is going to be on the 16th.
Yep, 16th.
Yeah,
that's
the 16th
a Saturday.
of December. It's at the Lake Erie Italian Club. Now, if you are like player of the year for your respective division, you're going to get invited. Invites will be coming out in the coming weeks. But like the top players from A is voted on by your coaches. Those guys will be coming in for sure to be recognized. Scholar athletes, I believe they're recognized. Were they there last year, Scholar athletes?
I think so.
I think Scholar athletes were there. The Buffalo News helps out, picks up the tab on a number of these trophies. Thank you very much to the Buffalo News, proud supporters, the Jolly Boys.
And we're going to have a brand new award as well.
Yes, the Roger Weiss. So we got to get the players
Players Choice Award, yeah. Which we're still kind of, we have an idea of how we want to choose. We're going to choose some semifinalists. I think it's going to be a short list of semifinalists, and then we're going to put that out to the players to vote, and we'll email the coaches and everybody to tell you how to vote. But I'm pretty excited about this. I think we're having some conversations what we want this award to look like in terms of who gets nominated and is named a finalist. And I think it'll really add to this discussion we're having.
Yeah, and again, it's you'll see at home the players that are being recognized and that have a shot at winning it, but the players will vote on it, and that will not be made public at all. It'll be brought to the coaches, and then the coaches will turn it into us, so it's fair. We'll let the coaches.
We'll figure out something. There might be a way they make it a special password or something.
Now, I don't know if this is Montrese's dad or not, but Mo Webster says Montrese Webster for Connolly Cup, the kid from Health. Now, is that the quarterback, Webster?
No, he was the quarterback last year.
Yeah.
He's the defensive lineman
Number
this
7?
year. And he had the big catch last week. He's the tight end.
What number is he?
He's number 1. So he was quarterback last year.
Yeah.
And they moved him because they got Banks in, so they moved him Montrese to tight end and defensive end. And he's one of those kind of big kids who is athletic.
Yeah.
And I think they put him at quarterback because he could do a lot of stuff.
Isn't he a D-end too, though?
Yeah, he's a D-end and tight end. Like real big athletic
We know the kid. We know the kid. He's a good player. I don't know if we'll get a Connolly Cup. I think Caesar
or Banks could.
Caesar probably gets in. Being totally honest with you, I see if Health gets one guy in, and be perfectly honest here, Bennett could get 3 or 4 guys in. They're not, but Bennett's got 3 or 4 guys that could be in the Connolly Cup discussion easily.
Well, and I mean, when I talked
they're going to spread it around a little bit.
Yeah, when I talked to Jameer last week, when I went to do his interview for our Section 6 playoff preview show, it's just like, there's some games he only touches the ball 9 times, but he still gets 200 and something yards because he's that athletic.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, I like Jameer in Pendergrass. It's not going to hurt my feelings if one wins over the other, but I like those 2 guys. I think those are the two of the top football players in Western New York, outside of Marcus Harrison, who's very good. You guys see Marcus Harrison. The guy's about 6'9", 6'8".
6'8".
Looks like a wrestler out there. I thought it was Hulk Hogan I was looking at.
High 200s, low 300s.
You were at the Gallagher Bank. You see his mom and dad? They're taller than he is. So, But they got some athletic genes for sure in that family. But no, we've seen Webster play. Seen the last few years. In fact, actually, I seen him play against Bennett. I don't know if it was last year or the year before. I knew that kid. There was something special about that Webster kid. He could, he's going to be a player someday for somebody. His best football days are well ahead of him, though. I don't even know if, we're going to see his best. I don't know if we're not going to see his best playing days here. He's going to go on and play at the next level, and he's.
I think he can find. And Coach, he has Coach Parker who knows the recruiting game, or I don't want to put air quotes on that, but he knows how to get him in a good spot that they can really excel him. I think he was playing a little bit out of position, I think, last year. And now that he's playing in positions that more suit him, he'll have time to grow. And I think with the right program, he could do something really special at the college level.
He's a better tight end now for having played quarterback.
Yeah.
I think he understands the route running, understands the defenses a little bit better. So I think that's why he's turned into a better receiver than he was at quarterback. And, who knows? Maybe he gets another shot at quarterback someday. But for health sciences, obviously Shamir's the route they're going, and they've been awfully successful, and they're one of the reasons why they're favored to win B at this point.
Well,
they're up there.
Okay, all right. Okay, are they your favorite, or they are
my favorite? I've been ranking health above the other teams because I think top to bottom, I'm talking all the way from head coach down to the trainer. I think health sciences is your most athletic. I don't know if they're going to outwork Pioneer in a second game. They might. But I know that, at least on paper, that might be one of the most gifted teams in B. They should win.
Okay, I can live with that
but
argument.
I don't know if they will. Again, it's going to come down to preparation, playing 4 quarters of football, your best football for 4 quarters, and having discipline.
And they were a team, even against South Park, they struggled with discipline.
And that's Parker keeps them together. Parker does a good job. And Health's got a lot of good coaches on that staff. Let's not kid ourselves. That's one of the top coaching staffs in Western New York. They have to really rein those players in and say, guys, it's bigger than a Section 6 championship. We've got the talent here to compete downstate. Is Shenango Forks a B team? Hang on, let's see. I don't even know where the hell is Shenango Forks.
They sound like, I think they're a B team. I know they
Maine Endwell. Yeah, if they're going to go down and compete with the Maine Endwells, the Monroes, the Monroe quarterback just threw for 7 touchdowns last week, by the way. Glens Falls is always tough out of Section 2. And again, Maryville. A lot of things got to go. Pleasantville out of Section 1. Yeah, we got a – Class B's got a tough
they have a tough ride once you get to states. It's a tough ride now, but –
They do. So that'll be tough. But I
was going to ask about AA. Is McQuaid? How is McQuaid doing in Rochester? How are they ranked?
McQuaid is the number 1 seed.
Okay.
In AA.
They were the one team.
We're moving on. We're going to talk a little bit about the state now on a state level.
Yeah. Because I remember that was the one team that gave Bennett fits last year in the state playoffs. McQuaid. And they had
I think McQuaid was their biggest challenge.
McQuaid had, I think they had a 14-0 lead on them at half, if memory serves me right.
I don't know if we would play Massapequa. They're a Section 8 team. So I don't think they play in New York State playoffs. Now, the top team, I think from Section 1 through 10, and again, I don't think 8 and 11. I think 8 and 11 are in like that New York and Long Island championship.
Yeah.
I don't think they play for a state title here. But, Farmingdale's 8. So Christian Brothers Academy is 8-0. They're out of Section 3. Arlington out of Section 1 is 8-0. Shenandoah, McQuaid Jesuit at 8-0. McQuaid Jesuit's ranked number 12. Bennett ranked number 6. So you could be looking at it under McQuaid. If they get through AA. And AA in Section 5, which is who we'll see in the Far West Regionals. For AA, you got McQuaid at 1. Aquinas is 4. They're having a rough year. That UPrep team is number 2. I hear they're pretty good.
And they won the 7-on-7 tournament put on by Coaches Association back in July.
Hilton. Remember Hilton?
Yes, they beat Jamestown in A. So wait, and they're in AA this year?
They're in AA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Hilton's moved up. Remember how good they were?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's that. You can have that. Now in Class A, whoever comes out of Class A in Section 6 will most likely be playing either Victor or East from Rochester. We've heard a lot about East. East out of Rochester is like our Bennett as far as the public schools, how they're combined there. So you might see East. Canandaigua's always good. Irondequoit's a 5 seed. That tells you anything, how tough their A is. We think our A is tough. Irondequoit's a 5 seed. So, Brighton, they're a 4 seed. I like Irondequoit there, but you could be looking at Victor, East, or that Irondequoit team. Maybe Canandaigua. We'll have to wait and see. That's A, so whoever comes out of A is going to have their hands full. Do I have a B? What do I do with the B? Oh, Class B standings out of Section 5. This Monroe team is legit. Our Section B team, though, I think is battle-tested like none other. I would be surprised if our B team, though, has what it takes to get through 5, if they're going to have anything left. Because we beat the crap out of each other in B. Let's be honest. Pioneer, Health, Maryvale, Lackawanna.
Maybe that's the battle test they need, though.
I hope they're healthy enough to play in this game. Honeoye Falls, Lima, HFL, they're the 2 seed. They're very good. And then Batavia, 3 seed. I heard Monroe buried Batavia earlier in the year. And Batavia 3, Batavia is always very good. But Monroe could be that team out of Section 5. Section 5 athletics is where I'm getting the information from. Again, this Monroe quarterback just threw for 7 yards. How many yards do you think he threw for? He threw for 7 touchdowns last week. How many yards would you say he threw for? Take a guess.
310.
175.
Okay, so a lot of short touchdowns.
He was like 13 of 22 for 175 yards. I didn't see that. All I saw was the 7 touchdowns. So, yeah.
Must have a really good running game and a really good red zone offense.
Jay Austin brings up the point of UPrep and 5. Yes, we did mention them. I believe they're the 2 seed in that Class A prep. UPrep the number 2 seed or they're in AA? Where'd you see UPrep?
They're the 2 seed in AA, yeah.
Okay, and UPrep is ranked 26 by New York State Sports Writers Association at 7-1. And I want to say the guy that does that is John. John knows football over there. He's pretty good as John. That big guy from New York State Sports Writers. Forgot his last name. He's been with us forever. Been on the beat longer than you and I have been alive. The older guy. Anyways, let's go to Class C. Leroy is the top seed right now in Section 5. Number 2 is Attica Alexander. Letchworth, Letsaw, they call them. They're 3. ER Ganada. Didn't they make it last year, that ER Ganada team? They made it all the way to Cortland last year, I believe, or wherever we were. Union Endicott. ER Ganada. That's the team I remember.
For what class?
C. They might have been a B team or a D team for all I know. Something tells me...
I think they made it to the final. I don't know.
John Moriello. Thank Matt O'Rourke. Thank you. John Moriello is the guy that votes from Section 5. Thank you very much.
I don't think so. I don't think they made it last year.
Okay. I got my son tomorrow. His mom's telling me to make sure he takes a shower and washes his feet. His feet are really nasty. All right. Well, you wash them. I got to wash the kid's feet now? What am I, Jesus?
I think it's time to end it, Heidi.
Oh, we didn't even talk about Class D yet. Not out of Section 5. Yeah, Section 5. Okay, so Section 5, Class D, York Pavilions, their top seed. Avon is their number 2 seed. They get byes this week. Oakfield, Alabama is a pretty good team, and so is that Canestito Greenwood team. But my guess, Avon or York Pavilion comes out of Class D, and I was looking at their rankings on the state level. I mean, Tioga's ranked number 1 out of 4. And then the top 5, Section 5's team, York Pavilion at 7-1, was ranked 11th. Avon's ranked 15th. So I think that's CSP or Franklinville-Ellicottville's game for sure. we have anything else we got to talk about?
Nope.
Lackawanna beat ERG last year. Was it 2 years ago? Okay. I thought it was ER beat Medina. Yes. That was a bit of an upset, wasn't it? When Medina lost last year. I think they were a little shorthand. No, Medina didn't play last year.
They didn't play. Lackawanna
Yeah.
played last year.
Yeah.
And I thought they played Attica. They played a team that was blue and orange.
Who did?
Lackawanna.
Yeah.
It was a blue and orange team. I want to say that was...
Attica Alexander, they're telling us to watch for from Class 5. We'll definitely do that. What do we think of Williamsville North? I'll tell you what. My honest opinion, Williamsville North, I didn't think much of them first couple of weeks of the season. I saw what West Seneca West did with them. Two completely different teams. Williamsville North, West Seneca West beat them up bad. Let's be honest. If you were at that game, you know what I'm talking about. But they put it together somewhere. They started figuring things out. The Lockport loss, they didn't need to win that game. But they're much better now than they were when they first started, and that makes them dangerous because even though they just lost to Lockport, and it wasn't like they
I think it's last
blown
minute.
out.
Yeah, it was a
they
one-score
lost.
game.
Late loss to Lockport. Definitely a deflating loss, but not enough to take their confidence away. I think Williamsville North is much more confident heading into the playoffs than they were, say, going into week 2 or week 3 this year.
Yeah, they're very capable of knocking off Star Point. Keep in mind that's not a far drive at all from Real North to Star Point, so they can bring a crowd with them.
Yeah, and are they both Spartans?
Yes, you're right.
Battle of the Spartans.
Yeah.
Battle of the Spartans going on up at Star Point. Is that a Friday night game?
Yeah, Friday night.
Williamsville North could beat Star Point. Will they? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. DJ Leonard, though, is having a fantastic season. A little bit under the radar, Francis. He was a kid years ago that we thought we might be talking about Connolly Cup one day. But he's having a fantastic year for Will North, and he's probably one of the big reasons why they ended the season on such a high note. Again, tough loss against Lockport, but they were already in the playoffs and didn't necessarily need to win that game.
Oh, we do have a final. Lakeshore defeated Dunkirk 46-13, the Class B Funky Bowl.
All right. Well, congratulations to Coach Dan from Lakeshore.
Dan Russell. Dan the
Russell,
man.
Yeah. Yes.
Dan the weatherman.
Jay Austin, 182. Maybe you should be on the show next week.
Do we know who Jay Austin is?
No. Send us your information. Maybe we'll get you on the show next week. He seems to know his stuff. Lackawanna beat Attica, and then they lost to General Brown. Yes, they shouldn't have lost to General Brown. They definitely should have beat General Brown last year.
Yeah, they were
right into that game.
I think they were leading it. Yeah.
And then it just went bad from there. But Lackawanna was good. I'll tell you what, Lackawanna would have put a much better fight in that Class C championship than General Brown did. They got their doors knocked off. But Lackawanna might have been able to beat that team that won the Class C last year. I wasn't impressed with that team whatsoever. And I'm like, wow, Lackawanna's better than that team. They're better than them. And they beat up General Brown pretty good. But General Brown, I don't know, maybe Lackawanna just ran out of steam. Let's wait and see. Anything else? Any other questions you want to ask, TJ? Tom knows you. Well, Tom knows everybody.
Yeah.
Come on, Austin. That's not saying a lot. Tom knows everybody.
Well, it's Jay Austin.
Jay Austin.
Austin.
All right. We should be done. We'd like to end.
Yeah,
Heidi
we're
fell asleep
way
2
over.
segments ago.
Yeah.
We want to thank all our sponsors. We'll get you one more question. You got one more question? We'll do one more question before we hang up and listen. I'll give you 30 seconds to get a question in there. 20 seconds. This is bad radio.
We're not on radio.
We're going to be Star Point Wednesday. All right. Okay. Ronaldo League. Very cool. It can happen. I like the Star Point quarterback. They could stretch a field for sure.
Michael Grady.
And
their running back is Joe Richardson, who I think he's related.
Very good.
I think he's related to the AD at Will South. I could be wrong. The AD at Will South is related to somebody on Star Point.
General Brown is not having as they're good, but they're not having that good of a season. Who am I to say they're not having that good of a season? Of course, they're having a good season.
Who is that?
General Brown. I think they're at 5-2. I don't know how they did last week. They very well could come back, but I think the Section 3 team that's running things out there is Casanova.
Well, we can't forget about Waverly.
No.
With Joe Tomo, I'm going to forget his...
Tomaso,
yeah, who's
where
one
is
of the
he?
top quarterbacks in
he
all the
was
state. He's in Class C.
Is he C? Yeah,
Waverly.
they're at 7-1. That'd be nice to see him at CNS.
Yeah.
That's where we'd see him if we get a chance to see him. Where was it? Yeah. My issue with North in this game is that passing game of Star Point. I think that's where they can catch Will North off guard, because I didn't think Will North did really good against teams that can throw especially well. Good quarterback has been able to move the ball against that Will North defense. So I'm leaning Star Point for that reason only, just because from what I've seen, Will North has struggled against offenses with a good passing attack, and that's exactly what you're going to see with Star Point. Remember, go back to that first game of the year. They were in it with Health Sciences right to the end. They put 50-something points up on Health Sciences, week 1 or not. They had one hell of a game. And I'll have to wait and see. Who will be in the section finals for Class A1 and A2?
I'm going to say, looking at the bracket, obviously Class A. I'm going to say Clarence is going to be there. I'm going to say Lockport. They're going to be bringing down the boats to Highmark Stadium. And
I don't think they want to bring any boats. The last one I heard about up there didn't end too well.
They still have locks up there.
Just sad, sore subject right now. Who else are our teams in A? You like Clarence.
I mean, you have that side of the bracket. You have Star Point, Will North, and you have Grand Island.
Yeah.
I mean, Will North was just at the stadium.
I'll tell you what. I think Sweet Home, if they can find a way to get past West Seneca West, I think this Sweet Home team is going to
You think they could beat?
I think they can give Clarence trouble, because I think they're one of those hard-hitting, tough teams to play against. They're a hard team to move the ball against just because they hit so hard.
They're a little bit similar.
Team.
The two teams are a little bit similar because they have that. They like to spread it out, like they can spread you out, but they really, at the end of the day, they love to run the ball.
Yeah.
And
I mean, the fact that Clarence beat Lockport and it was a close game says an awful lot. We don't care what Lockport's schedule looks like, but
the fact that they only lost to Bennett by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah,
they did better than literally anybody. Lancaster, Jamestown, Orchard Park, Lockport did the best out of all of them. Now I know first week you can say whatever, but still that means something.
Yeah. Well, so I don't want to get ahead of myself. Sweet Home, I do like the team. I think they're very well balanced. I think this is going to be a great test, a very good test for Sweet Home and West Seneca both. Clarence is the class of the field in A. 8-0 for a reason. Great coaching staff. Lancaster's been in their way. For all
Clarence,
these years.
well, I think what happened last year. Clarence was an 8, and they were the 8 seed.
Yeah,
and they pulled off that upset over South Park.
Yeah,
Clarence was.
Well,
they were stuck
before that.
Yeah, and they were stuck behind Jamestown and Will North last year.
They were always losing to Lancaster, always struggling with Jamestown, and even Orchard Park. Now they're down in A. Probably a little more comfortable down there for Clarence. And good for them.
Tell you what,
8-0.
this Bryce Tubin kid is different, though. They haven't had a kid like him in a long, long time.
Yeah, as long as we've been doing this. Yes, Ronaldo, I hope Will North does prove us wrong. Will North is in my backyard, so pass the school 2-3 times a day. And I would love to see the Spartans do well. I was there years ago at Highmark Stadium where I went on a limb and picked Will North to upset Lancaster, only to see Lancaster beat them 28-0. So there were nothing.
You didn't pick Will North last year against Jamestown?
No.
No.
No. So, but no, I would love to see Will North, that program, come back to prominence. I miss Coach Mamalotti. He was a good friend of mine, as is the coaching staff.
I heard Coach Paul Palazzi owns a pizzeria.
He does in Akron.
In Akron. That's a
Actually,
haul.
I think he's got a son who's one hell of a football player too. Yeah, he's got a big dude for a son. Yes, go look him up. He's a big dude. You know, who's another big dude is Jancy's kid, Eric Jancy's son over at Canisius.
Yeah,
that's a big, hard-hitting boy. What about Grand Island, CK? What about them? They always play.
They're one of the teams. They've been kind of. I think we've been neglecting them a little bit.
They're a quiet team. They don't talk a lot. They're not flashy. They just come out and play football. They do not talk. Santorio does a fantastic job with them. They're one of those teams in the playoffs that always seems to take their game to another level. Who knows what's going to happen? They lost to Lockport once. They're playing them again this weekend. Lockport, right?
It's only one score game.
Yeah, so Lockport had to win last week to get in. They've got a lot of confidence and a lot of momentum right now. That's going to be a tough train to derail, if you ask me, even for Grand Island. We'll have to wait and see, though. The Vikings, you can't ever count them out. You can't, especially this time of year. Anyone that's been watching high school football the last 10 years or longer knows that Grand Island is a tough out this time of year. That's a pick'em game for me. But if you were going to make me take a pick, Lockport beat them already, I would have to go with Lockport again. Always tough to beat a team a second time in a season.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see. Thank you very much for watching today on WNYA High School Football Weekly. We will see you out of the field this weekend. Congrats to all those teams winning in the Chuck Bunky, and good luck to all the teams in the playoffs. Get to your field safe. Do your talking on the field. For Francis Beck and Heidi Gunther, I am Frank Wolf. Enjoy your night, everybody.